actually read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and at the time was more than full time as a doctor. And we had this sense that we wanted a lot more freedom in our life, but we didn't know exactly how to get there. And when we read Rich Dad Poor Dad, it was so clear that real estate was going to be a really great way to create cash flow that would free us up to work in medicine on our terms. And by end of 2018, we were at the point that I considered us financially free.
Buckle up for a new episode of the S.H.E podcast, the show where we have real and raw conversations to inspire and empower you to be seen and heard so you can create balance and everything you want in your life and business. I'm your host, Heidi Schock, and I'm excited to walk alongside of you on this journey of being seen, heard, and empowered. Welcome to the S.H.E podcast. Be seen, be heard, be empowered. And I have an amazing and beautiful guest with me today. I have spoken with her before. She's incredible. What she's accomplished is incredible. And I'm really excited for her to be here and be sharing her journey with you. So without further ado, welcome Letizia Alto to the podcast. So excited to have you here.
Hi, Heidi and everybody. I'm really excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
It's going to be so fun. And before we kick it off and dive into all about you and your journey, I'm just going to give everybody a little background about you. So Letizia Alto is a physician, real estate investor, best-selling author, blogger, podcaster, and the CEO of Semi-Retired MD. She and her husband, Kenji, started investing in cash-flowing rental real estate in 2015 and achieved financial freedom 3 years later. Since then, they have grown their personal portfolio to over 175 plus units of long and short-term income-producing rentals across the U.S. and have syndicated an additional 2,100 plus units. Wow. So Letizia, is this something, what everything you've accomplished, is this something that you got into because of a personal journey of yours? Or is this something happened and you fell into this or learned about it? Or is this something that you were just always passionate about? You knew you wanted to get into real estate.
This is something I fell into. I actually read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and at the time was more than full time as a doctor, and my husband as well as a doctor. And so we were working all the time. And we had this sense that we wanted a lot more freedom in our life, but we didn't know exactly how to get there. And when we read Rich Dad Poor Dad, it was so clear that real estate was going to be a really great way to create cash flow that would free us up to work in medicine on our terms. And so we really stumbled into it. But when we read that book, we just decided, like, this is what we're going to do. That was in 2015, and really devoted like a lot of focus and a lot of effort into it. And by end of 2018, we were at the point that I considered us financially free.
Wow. So what was it about Rich Dad Poor Dad that inspired you that real estate is the way to go?
So I had this vision of getting an Italian villa and having significant time off and having the ability for my friends to come stay with me, having enough space for them, and then also for them to be able to stay with me for extended periods of time. And what I realized when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad was I was trading time for money, and I wasn't ever going to get to that space where I would have enough time off and enough wealth to be able to build something like that. And then also my friends would be in a situation that they weren't going to have that time off to be able to spend with me. I could see the path to get there with real estate because I could realize that I could have this income coming in that it didn't involve me trading time for money anymore, and having a lot more freedom. So it was just very, very obvious that what I was doing was not going to work for that vision that I had for my future. And so I had to do something differently.
I love that. So I'm sure there's been challenges along the way. So can you share with us what was one of your biggest challenges that you've experienced when it's doing what you're doing now along the way, or just moving into entrepreneurship in general?
Oh gosh, so many challenges, right? It's hard to pick just one. If I had to pick one challenge of all of them, so I should mention that, my bio covers part of what I'm doing. It covers Semi-Retired MD, which is the business that I built after we had achieved financial freedom and really wanted to teach other doctors and high income earners how to build another source of income outside of medicine. And then subsequently, we started Fast Fire Capital, which is I'm CEO of that business as well. And it's really focused on helping people get access to passive investment opportunities, a lot of them multifamily, but also alternative assets. And then I recently this year started a business called Biara, which is focused on helping female entrepreneurs. And I have a little mastermind mastermind of female doctors right now. It's my first group going through, and we're just boldly scaling and building their businesses, and it's really, really exciting. So there's a lot going on for me. So I've had a lot of challenges, as you can imagine, along the way. I mean, from real estate challenges, right? Not having enough money. As a real estate investor, you always run out of money and you have to really get creative and get scrappy. I think mindset is a big one. I didn't have any mindset training very early on, and then luckily in 2019 found like Tony Robbins space, and I just got really into building my mindset. So if you asked me what I thought was the biggest thing that has led to my success and ability to do all this, it's absolutely mindset. So I guess I would say my biggest challenge was I didn't have any mindset training in the beginning, and I can imagine what having that very early on would have been able to do for my journey,
Mhm.
as well as I have to add community. Not
Yeah.
having a community, because most people who are doctors are not investing in real estate, and there's a lot of naysayers around you. So that was definitely very challenging early on.
Wow. So, two questions. I'll start with this one. Going along with the challenges, did you have any fear diving into this with, or did your husband have any fear? Were you like the ones that are like, we're doing this, and your husband had the fear, or vice versa? Or were both of you like, holy cow, what are we doing?
I think it's really normal to have fear when you're starting anything new. So definitely had a lot of fear and had no idea how we were going to do it. So when we first initially decided to invest in real estate, we said, okay, we're going to replace both our clinical incomes in 7 years or less. And so we went and we read Gary Keller's book, Real Estate Millionaire, very early on. So that was great to see that other people had been able to do this. So that really helped with fears, because it kind of normalized that other people could do this. So could I. I don't know where this came from, but I had this feeling like I needed to adopt this identity. And so what I did very early on is I just decided I was becoming a real estate baron. And I would literally go to the hospital and people would be like, "Hey, what are you up to?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm becoming a real estate baron." And you can imagine what the other doctors thought of me when I said that.
Yeah,
And my
I love
husband
that
was
though.
absolutely embarrassed. He was like, "What are you doing? You're becoming a real estate baron? Like you're telling people in the hospital that?" But I don't know, I just stepped into it. And that I think really helped me because I started acting like that from day one. So I would go and I would meet property managers and I wouldn't have a property. And I'd be like, okay, so this is what I'm building. This is my vision. After how many properties are you going to give me a discount? And so I would start negotiating with them right up front. And they were like, oh my gosh, I want to get on board with this lady. She's building an empire, right? She's going to become a real estate baron. Like, I better get on board because this is not just going to be one off. This is going to be a whole portfolio.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Again, I have no idea how I came up with that, but that helped me conquer a lot of the fears, I think, because I was literally saw this journey of me building something really big, and that helped me really keep focused and step into the spaces where I normally probably would have been very, very scared.
Mm. I love that you just were telling people like you're like this is what I'm up to, and I love that your husband is like, what the heck are you doing, woman? Right? And then in going to the property managers, and then I love that you said that they were on board. You didn't even have anything yet, but they're like, I want to be part of this. I want to be part of this nothingness yet that you're creating and building, and it's going to be this huge empire. So you were able to enroll them into your vision. So how important would you say having that vision and stepping into it? Because it does sound kooky to people. It is scary to people. People will think you're crazy, right? When you're saying this stuff. Like you said, doctors have a lot of naysayers around you. So how do you move through that? And I think how important is creating that vision, but not only having a vision, but actually stepping into it in order to be able to create it.
There's a saying, right? Without a vision, everything's lost. And I think that compelling vision that gets you really excited, that you're very emotionally charged about, is absolutely integral to keeping you going, because you will have challenges, like, all the way from like, you know, units burning down, or property managers that aren't working out, or contractors who steal from you, or anything. All kinds of things happen along the way. And when you have that compelling vision of where you're going, why you're doing it, right? Why it's so important. For me, it was like, when we started, we didn't have kids together, but it was like, hey, when we have kids, we're going to be present parents. We're going to be around. We're not going to be just doing week on, week off, trading time. Like, basically, as hospitalists, you work a week on, week off is full time, and it's like 85 hours during that week. And so when you have a dual physician couple who are both hospitalists, oftentimes what they'll do is they'll trade, because one parent would be gone all weekend. And like we just didn't want that. We wanted to be around with our kids and we wanted to be able to travel and we wanted to be able to go to Europe for several months at a time. And so we had such a clear vision of why it was important, as well as having the vision that, hey, real estate, we're going to have to build up this much cash flow to be able to do that. They were so focused. So I think it's absolutely integral. And what's so cool is you don't need anything to be able to do that. All you have to do is get your brain, spend a couple hours visioning and dreaming, come up with a really specific measurable goal that you're going for and a very strong why that really pulls you emotionally. And you've already done that step, which is, I think, one of the most challenging steps because most people don't sit around and say, what do I really want? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Why is that so important? But it's literally a process you can do for in a couple hours and it changes your whole life. And then you just have to figure out how to get there. That's the easy part.
Hmm. So quick question off topic. Do you have the villa?
No, I haven't found the right one. I've
Still
been,
looking. We're still looking.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still looking. What's happened is every time I look and I find one, it's like, oh God, getting more and more expensive. So yeah, I haven't found the right one yet, and I'm kind of unwilling to settle. I don't
Yeah.
want to settle for less than the vision of it, but what we've been doing is we go to Europe every summer for at least a month or two and kind of stay in Italian rentals. We've been doing a program which is for digital nomad families where the kids go to school and we have co-working space with all the other entrepreneurs and they give you an apartment. So we've been doing kind of these adventures in different parts of Europe while I look, but I'm just not settling.
Yeah. No settling. You haven't settled up to this point, right? You created that
That's
big
right.
vision. You didn't settle for less than that. And you made that happen. So the villa's coming and it gets to be perfect,
Mhm.
just the way you envisioned it. So can you share with us the name behind what is the Biara? What does that mean? And why did you call your women's group Biara that you found?
Awesome question. So Biara is really about building and scaling boldly, and it's about helping more female entrepreneurs. Actually, I had this vision that business to this point has largely been dominated by males leading with masculine energy. And the idea is that the feminine energy and leading from the feminine energy will become the newer wave of how business can be led successfully in the future. And so that's my vision of it is to help more female entrepreneurs grow their businesses, have more profits, have more ease, but do so in a really powerful feminine way and not feeling like they have to just act like through the masculine all the time. So I originally wanted to call it business and entrepreneurship, B, and I thought that would be really cool, just BE. But as you can imagine, for trademark reasons, that was very challenging. I took that word B and I tried to figure out a new word, a creation word that could combine, that sounded right, and actually used ChatGPT, which was
Ah,
amazing.
yeah.
By the way, ChatGPT is really great for helping you think through names and meanings. And Yara actually means butterfly in Arabic.
Oh,
And I thought it was really beautiful together, Biara, and it spoke of transformation. And I had already decided the theme was going to be birds. So all the stuff is birds, but ultimately a butterfly piece got added to it. But I just really liked how it sounded.
they both fly, right? They both
They do.
soar. Yeah. So they
And
soar.
they both transform.
Exactly. Very true. And which is what this podcast is all about, empowering you to transform into whatever it is that you want to create. So, Letty, for people who are listening, women, and they're like, I've always wanted to do real estate, but it's just been so far beyond my reach. I'm it's so scary. I don't have the funds for it. Like, how can someone get started? You're going to share with us how they can connect with you. But if somebody's just going, I don't even know where to begin,
Mm.
where should what advice do you have?
Well, first of all, you definitely want to know that you want to stop trading time for money. So if you haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think that's a really great place to begin to really understand why it is so difficult to get ahead for you as a W-2 earner. And then next step, I think, is actually coming up with your why and your cash flow goal. I think that's really important to do because it kind of guides what you're doing. For us, we always invest in cash flowing rentals. We want to have cash flow because that's what allows us to be, have that financial freedom, that ability to travel, the geographic freedom. A lot of people do real estate, they do market appreciation plays. There are 6 ways you make money in real estate. So there's cash flow, there's a renters paying down your mortgage, there's forced appreciation, which is when you take a building and you make it better and now it's worth more. So that's forcing appreciation. There's immediate appreciation where you make money on day one 10 when you buy that property and you negotiate the price down. There's tax savings. So we didn't pay taxes for 7 years, zero income taxes because we used real estate to shelter it. And that was sheltering, doctor income. And then there's market appreciation, which is a plus minus, like you might get it or you might not. But there are ways to set yourself up more likely to be able to get market appreciation. So when we invest in real estate, we aim to hit all 6 ways to make money. That's our goal, is because that's going to allow us to get to fast fire, which is what we see as getting to financial freedom while you're young enough to enjoy it. That's what we call fast fire. And so I think it's important to set that cash flow goal because it leads you in different directions. So if you said to me, hey, I have a lot of saved up income laying around and I am doing my job, my, day job, and I'm happy if I get to 50,000 in cash flow in 7 years or something like that. Well, then you might just be a passive investor, right? That might lead you in that direction. But if you say to me like, hey, I want to get to 200,000 in like 3 years of cash flow, that's a very different path, right? Because you're going to have to do very different things. So I think it's really important to set your why and your cash flow goal. And then you're like, okay, now I want to fast fire. Let's say you're like, I want to get the highest returns possible. Then you're going to need to own your own rental properties. I found it very helpful to read Gary Keller's book very early on, The Real Estate Millionaire because what I could see is all these regular people investing in real estate and that they could do it too. And I didn't have any other models, for this being possible. So I think that's a really great book to start with. But, really it's all about education. You have to get education. You ideally get a mentor because you want to be able to follow in someone else's footsteps, make less mistakes and do it faster. And you want community because those 3 things together will get you to results much, much faster. I didn't have community, I had some books to read and I didn't have a mentor. So it took me a lot longer than like my students, for example, are getting there much, much faster than me.
Yeah. And because they have everything you learned, you can get them there faster. You can fast track them. So books you've said are really important. So the first one's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Second one is The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, correct?
By Gary Keller.
By Gary
Yeah.
Keller. Are you like, do you read a lot? Is that part of your success too? So any other books that you suggest especially for when it comes to like maybe mindset that you didn't have that you got to work on?
Oh man.
Just
Yeah, I
any that
read
you
a lot.
recommend. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I read a
You sound
lot.
like an avid reader.
Oh yeah, I could talk about all kinds of books. I mean, I would highly suggest going to Tony Robbins events because it's not only the mindset stuff which you can get from reading a book, but it's also a lot about energy and kind of controlling and knowing that you can live in a higher energy state. And I think a lot of us walk around thinking we're exhausted or we're overwhelmed or experiencing the low energy state and experiencing a lot of emotions that drain us. If you said to me, like, again, what's one of your greatest things that have helped you build all these businesses and helped you build your wealth, it was mindset work. And a lot of it I can attribute to Tony Robbins stuff. And I think it's really helpful to go in person because when you go in person, you're in that room with all the other people who are just lifting their energy. It's how you learn so much better. And then also how you're going to make sure you follow through to execution, right? Because you can know things and then you can execute things. And a lot of people know a lot of things, but they don't execute. So the execute's really important.
Yeah, and you mentioned community and mentorship, super, super important. So, because you don't want to do this alone, right? That's the long path, it's the hard path, and you may not get there. So, can you share how people can connect with you? How could they learn more about whether it's Viara or your other? I know you have other offerings. Can you share how we can learn more about that?
Sure. So if you're a doctor or a high income earner who's like wants to learn about how to invest in real estate, like own your own rental properties and save on taxes, then semiretiredmd.com is the place to go. And we're going to be building out Tycoon, which is spelled Taikun. So it's a old Japanese terminology for a term of endearment for a wealthy landlord or landowner who didn't get it because they were given it, but because they earned it. So we're going to build that out for just people who are not doctors. So we're going to build it we're calling them high income taxpayers, HITs. So that will come, that's going to be in the next, 6 months, we'll be building out Tycoon. And then if you know you want to be a passive investor, you can find out more at fastfire.com. And then if you're a female entrepreneur who's growing your business, then Beyara.com.
Beautiful. We're going to have all of the links from Lady in the show notes. So make sure you go check her out there, and we can find you on social, right?
Yes, you can. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm everywhere.
Okay, perfect. We'll have her links in there as well. So before we wrap up, Letty, is there anything? Let me do this. Is there like a fun fact about you that we wouldn't know from seeing you on social media or checking out all of the programs and offerings you have? Anything like just that we'd be kind of surprised to know?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense looking at what I've done, but it's not like out there as public knowledge. But I actually grew up abroad a lot. And my dad was a doc and liked living and working in developing countries. So I lived in Papua New Guinea until I was 7, and then I lived in the Pacific Islands for several years. So I'm really used to moving around. That's why I do this digital nomad, living in Puerto Rico, traveling 6 months a year, even with my kids. I'm doing all that because that's how I grew up.
Yeah, and I'm sure that shaped everything that you've created now too, all of that travel that you've had. So that's I love that. It's awesome. One last question. Well, I have two more questions though, but this one, if you could have lunch with anyone, uh, alive or deceased, who would it be and why?
It'd probably be Sarah Blakely right now.
Ah, I love
Uh,
that.
yeah, she's pretty awesome.
He is
And
pretty
I think she
awesome.
really leads from the feminine.
Mhm.
Actually, my husband was in her husband's mastermind last year, Jesse Itzler. And actually, I was able to get the person who was running Jesse Itzler's mastermind came over and started Biara with me. So
Oh,
she's my main coach and head of business in Biara. So I'm really lucky I like got all of her skill set and all the learnings that she had from Jesse Itzler
yeah.
and because he's an entrepreneur in his own right. I'm so lucky to have her in Biara, like coaching all my women and stuff. But yeah, I think Sarah Blakely is just really remarkable, and I'd love to sit around and have lunch with her.
I think that'd be a fun lunch. That'd be full of laughs because I think they're both crazy. Like they're both awesome. They have personalities and they're so cute together.
Yeah.
And they're both successful in their own right, Jesse and Sarah. So I think they're an amazing couple. And yeah, that would be super fun lunch. Absolutely.
There's one more. Actually, I'm gonna add
Oh,
another one.
okay.
Martha Stewart. Have you seen her documentary?
I have not.
Oh my gosh, you should see it. It's
Okay.
very interesting of all the ways, all the things that she kind of gave up while building her business. And like, I think she had a really difficult time of it. If you look at that and see the choices she had to make as a businesswoman, back when she was building her business. So I'd love to go to one of her peony parties because I want to see her farm. She's now built a farm and she's growing all these vegetables and plants and stuff. And I think that would be really fun. So I'm going to
Yeah,
add that to my list.
I think that's a great one. And I can only imagine what she's gone through in her life to build what she's built and being a woman on top of it, and having to show up strong, So, yeah, I'm definitely going to check out the documentary. I can't wait. Thank you. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you'd like to share, last words of wisdom that I didn't get to ask you about or we didn't talk about today?
I just want to reiterate the importance of mindset in this journey because if you ask me what's most important, it really is working on your mindset, really working on your energy, being able to turn things around and say to yourself, okay, this problem in front of me, how is this life happening for me? Let me look for ways to see how it's life happening for me or turn it into life happening for me. And that allows you just to move through these things and come up with solutions and have a lot more fun along the way instead of suffering,
Yeah.
right? I would say every entrepreneur really needs to have a lot of mindset training, a lot of personal development training to be able to build the business that you're really capable of building.
Yeah, I love that so much. I'm so grateful for your time today, Letty. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure that you connect with her. She's amazing. She's awesome. And she should be on your list of somebody that you'd want to have lunch with if you could. Because
Thank
she's
you,
pretty cool.
Heidi.
You're welcome. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to us today. Make sure that you connect with her. Go check out the links in Biara, in Tycoon coming soon. And the website is retiredmd.com, right? Yep.
Semi-retired
Semi
MD. Yep.
semi-retired MD, and you don't need to be an MD to go check it out. So go check it out. If you want to learn about real estate and transforming your life, definitely go follow her and connect. We thank you for being here with us today, and we will see you on the next episode of the Be She podcast. Go be empowered to be seen and heard. See you soon.